Ruben Gonzalez is a not one, not two, not three, but four-time Winter Olympian of 88 Calgary, 92 Albertville, France, '02 Salt Lake City, Utah, and of course in 10 Vancouver, Canada. So that's pretty incredible. We have a four-time Olympian over 4 decades, which is is that a world record?
Yeah. I was the first one to do it.
You're
Somebody
the first
else did it right after me, but I was the first one.
You're first one to do that record.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Well, welcome, Ruben. How you doing this morning?
Doing great. It's great to be here.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a treat. I don't know that I've sat down with an Olympian on air. We've chatted before, but you have become just an inspiration to so many people. I'm just glad to get this message out. You do also professional speaking. And you're also on track right now, trying to get to your 5th.
That's praying Olympic. For lots of money to come in the next few weeks.
It's not cheap being an Olympian. You gotta
especially
raise
in this
some funds.
Sport. I was just thinking, I've never thought about this before, but most sports you train in, let's say 100 meters, right? Every country can send 3 guys maximum, right. But they have to beat a certain international speed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Time. Right. And then the top 3 Americans go to Eugene, Oregon. They race and they go. But we have to go all over the world and race, like the Formula One, right? Just picture Formula One. You're going to different countries,
right?
And we're trying to get our qualification points that way. So yeah, I'm stuck with a very expensive sport.
So over the last 4 decades, you have represented Argentina.
Argentina, yeah.
Yes, awesome. And you're not satisfied with the world record you set. You want to go, as Aaron touched, for 5 for 5.
Yeah, and I have all these silly reasons. I always thought that 3-time Olympian had a nice ring to it, and then 4 is like, it's kind of like flowers. You got to have that. The flower bunch has to have odd number.
Yeah,
and so 5 Olympic rings, 5 Olympics. I'm not going for 6 because that'll mess it up again.
I think we find that competitors or people that have found thresholds that they've been able to beat, I guess you kind of are suspicious, like, hey, I wonder if I could. Is this possible?
Yeah, what if? Why not, right? Why not me?
Right.
Yeah,
I love that question.
So that gets your mind, your subconscious mind, thinking about possibilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, why not me? Why not you, right?
Right.
And so, you wake up in the middle of the night with some great ideas, and there you go. You start making it.
Yeah, so your journey with the Olympics is definitely a huge part of your story. And I don't think yet we've mentioned, so I'm just going to ask, will you explain what sport you've competed in and what that looks like?
Sure. I do the luge. The luge, if you've seen Cool Runnings, and we'll do that later. If you've seen Cool Runnings, Jamaican bobsledders, we go down the same track on a little bitty sled. We're laying on our back. I'll show you a picture, but this picture has another purpose. But see, that's a guy laying on a luge, all right? So I'll go ahead and tell you the story. When I decided I wanted to do the luge, I didn't even know where the track was. I lived in Houston, Texas. I was 21 years old. I'm not a great athlete. I'm always the last kid picked for PE, but I got a lot of heart, and I don't quit. Very tenacious, right? So I thought, I got to find a sport that has a lot of broken bones, maybe a lot of quitters, and I won't quit, right? My tenacity is my superpower, right? Let's go with that, right? And so I headed down to ski jump, bobsled, and luge. I lived in Houston, never skied. Forget ski jump, that's suicide.
Yeah.
Bobsled, where are you going to find 3 other nuts in Houston, right? Got to go to Jamaica. and then luge, I can do by myself. I'd never even seen it on TV. I just thought that looks pretty tough. I wrote Sports Illustrated a letter. I said, where do you go learn how to luge? Because I didn't know where the track was. Yeah. They wrote back and they sent me this picture, right? This is a copy. The original's in my office, right? As soon as I got this picture, it went on the wall, right? I put it in a frame. I put it right in front of my bed. And the first person I saw in the morning when I woke up was the luge man, right? That's what I called him. And I said, he reminded me, got to train, got to eat right, hang around winners, read good books, it's the mental side. And at night, before I shut off the lights, last person I saw was the luge man, right? And so, what do you think I dreamt about at night, right? Yeah. Now, I didn't even know this. This guy was my hero. He helped me get to the Olympics because he kept, you keep the dream in front of you, right? Because if you don't, life happens, right? 6 months go by, year goes by, year and a half. Oh, yeah, I forgot I was training for the Olympics. I just blew a year and a half. I mean, that actually happens, right? You get caught up with the daily stuff.
And Ruben, I should mention too that you chose this specifically because your superpower is grit, and it's like, okay, so I'm not the strongest, fastest, whatever, but I know how not to quit, and so you leveraged your that was the thing you knew you were good at. So it's like, okay, let me go with that. So when you picked this sport, this is the highest failure rate, right? Or among the highest?
It's way up there, right? Yeah.
So you're like, okay, so
It fits me.
The thing that people most quit at is the thing I should go to.
Yeah.
Because I won't quit.
I reverse engineered it, right? So you base your plan on your strengths. Now that I know better, this guy's he's a beginner. His head's way up. That's an air brake right there, okay? His feet are way, he's not even pointing his feet. Look at his suit. It's all ragged up. I mean, he's been 1,000 crashes, right? But he helped me. He helped me get to the Olympics, right? So there's a lesson there too. Find an inspiration and run with it, right? Wow. So in the luge, you're going 80, 90 miles an hour. You're laying on your back. You're wearing, basically a spandex suit and a helmet. The helmet's
no knee pads, no body armor.
No body armor, nothing. And the helmet's just for decoration.
Joe just looked at me with disgust. He's like.
Well, did you hear his criteria? Weak. I need something with a lot of broken bones that a lot of people quit at, so that I, despite losing at a lot, can just outlast them. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be indomitable, and therefore, and you have.
They didn't even have
decades.
body armor back in the day, and
wow,
you're pulling up to 6 Gs on some of the curves, no seatbelt, nothing, right? And people think that all you do is hold on and pray. And, you hold on and you pray. It's very good for your prayer life, okay? But you also steer a lot. You're making hundreds of tiny corrections the whole way down and have the perfect line down the track, right? It doesn't take much. It's very responsive, okay? If I'm on a straightaway and I just push my shoulder down just a little bit, pressing down on the sled, it torques it, right? You're torquing the sled. There's only the steels, the steel runners, are about 4 feet long, but there's only about 4 inches that are touching the ice because it's arched. You're laying on a skate, right? And you're torquing it so that's touching in different places. If I touch it with my shoulder, you go from one side of the straightaway to the other. If I pull my handle, which drives my shoulder down, that's a medium steer. If I apply force with my feet, my legs, which is the only thing they ever talk about on TV interviews, that's like doing this with a car. That's for emergencies. Right? I mean, really, if you hiccup, that's enough of a motion to cause you to slam against the wall and crash. I mean, or go into a skid.
A literal hiccup, not some mental hiccup.
That'll get you into trouble. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you're trying to be relaxed and so you can be smooth, right? And you can have a fast reaction time. So it's very mental, very, very mental.
Well, what I'm thinking about right now is like this is not a sport for the risk adverse, right?
No.
This is a sport for the risk conditioned, right? Someone who's become conditioned to accept and tolerate the risk.
Yeah.
Because you have to be calm in. I mean, I'm just thinking about what you're talking about. It's like you hiccup, you have this slight thing. You're going 90 miles an hour in spandex. Right? Yeah. Like if you hiccup or get a leg twitch or something, there's not. What is when someone crashes at 90 on a luge? Because they slide, do they typically survive, or is it kind of a bad day?
Yeah, it's not as bad as it looks. Okay, I would rather my kids do luge than football anytime. Right, a lot of feet injuries, right? Because that's what usually hits the walls up front. So a lot of ankle breaks and things like that. But you're not really hitting your head. I only hit my head a couple times over the years. Kind of like in martial arts, you learn how to fall. You learn what to do, and you'll get ice burns too because you fall off the sled. And that friction goes right through. It's road rash, right?
Yeah.
Ice rash, right? And a lot of lower back injuries because the start is basically a deadlift. You're sitting on the sled and you're deadlifting yourself horizontally.
Yeah.
So a lot of disc injuries for the older guys. Luckily, I've been, spared that. And so, over the years, I've broken my foot twice, my knee, my elbow, my hand, my thumb, a couple of ribs. You get to the point. I reframed it. Before I wrote Sports Illustrated. They sent me that letter. I call Lake Placid. I go, I'm an athlete here in Houston. I want to learn how to luge, so I'm in the Olympics in 4 years. Will you help me?
Yeah.
And the guy goes, how old are you? I said, 21. And he started laughing. All right, forget it, man. You're too old. We started when we were 8 years old. By now, you should have 10 years experience. There's no way. I knew hanging up phones is not an option, right? If I hang up phones, it's all over. So I just try to keep them on the phone, conversation, so I could think of something. And I happened to tell him I was born in Argentina. I was born in Argentina. I came to the States when I was 6, and we just ended up staying here.
Yeah.
I just happened to say that, and the guy gets all excited. He goes, Argentina? If you'll go for Argentina, we'll help you. I said, why? A minute ago, you weren't going to help me at all.
Yeah.
He says, well, the sport of luge is this close getting kicked out of the Olympics. We're not global enough, okay? It's European countries, U.S., Canada, that's it. And so we're recruiting. If you'll go for Argentina, we'll train you. You'll travel with us. We'll even lend you a sled the first year. Eventually, you got to get your own gear. But we're going to have to compress 10 years of training into just 2 years. You're going to get hurt a lot, okay? I mean, you're going to be cramming. I'm thinking, man, I've been cramming for tests all my life. This fits really well. But we need to do that because in the last 2 years, you're going to be competing in the World Cup circuit against the best in the world to get these World Cup points, World Cup ranking, and the top 50 back then get to go. 51 watching TV. And so he says, so we go for Argentina because you'd be a whole new continent. I go, oh, I'm a continent now. Huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you go. I said, of course I'll go for anybody, man. I'll go for Pakistan. I just want to go to the Olympics. And so I went, and it was brutal. And he told me, you're going to break some bones. He's trying to talk me out of it. Yeah. And I'm glad he did because it allowed me to put on mental armor. It made me realize this would be tough, right? Yeah. So I started thinking, okay, well, what am I going to do if I break a bone? He says, it's inevitable. Well, I've broken bones before. You put on a cast, 6 weeks later, it's healed up and stronger than before. So we really think about it, it's a temporary inconvenience, right? So that was a broken bone was going to be a temporary inconvenience for me. Yeah. So they put me in a class with 15 guys. A couple of months after I called them, they were going to have a camp on wheels down the old bobsled track, 55 miles an hour on concrete, wearing tennis shoe shorts and a T-shirt, okay, and a helmet. They call it the weeding out process in the sport of luge. And the other guys are quitting. I mean, every day there's a couple less guys showing up, and I couldn't believe it. By the end of the first year, I'm the only one left out of that group, and they were quitting because they got a bruise, right? And I just couldn't understand it. And 4 years later, when I actually made it, you walk into the opening ceremony, you feel so happy, so proud. But at the same time, I felt sad for a couple of these guys who become my friends. I'm thinking, wow, what are they feeling like today? I mean, they're watching it on TV. I bet it hurts so much they got to change channels, or they can't watch the Olympics the rest of their lives. And on their deathbed, they'll be thinking, what if? What if I hadn't quit? Right? And I paid a huge price.
Yeah.
And what about number 51? He did everything Coach said, broke bones, kept coming back, maxed out his credit cards, traveling all over the world, and he missed it by a tenth of a second on the last race. Well, that guy feels sick inside. Well, when he's shaving in the morning, look at himself in the mirror, he can stand straighter than before because he had to dig so deep just to put himself through that he found gifts that he didn't know he had, and now he's a better person for having put himself through that. Right. So either way, you win.
As long as you put it all out.
Give it all. Yeah. So there's no regrets. Right? If I had a tattoo, I don't have any. But if I did, it'd probably be no regrets.
Would you spell it regrets or regrets? So it's like misspelled. So
it's ironic.
You could go with the joke. No regrets. Really, not even one letter.
So you're saying it even in the failures, the mistakes, the broken bones. Those are all just part of the process of learning what's really in you.
Amen. Yeah. And when you make a mistake, they train us, right? They call it, feast and forget. It's just something that I heard along the way. Some coach said. So if you have a good run, right, at the end of a performance, and a performance can be, if you're listening to this and you're in sales, for example, right, a performance could be a sales call, or it could be a follow-up, right, or it could be a demonstration, right, or a speech. It's something that gets you closer to the goal, right? It could be a golf shot. It could be a tennis shot. It could be a luge run, right? So at the end of the performance, there's three options. It was great, it was okay, or it needs work. It didn't suck. It's not awful. You're not an idiot. You're not a loser. No, it just needs work, right? The performance needs work. And so you probably know what you messed up, or coach will help you. And so when you have that bad performance, don't waste it, right? You don't waste it. You extract the lesson, and then you forget it because you don't want that sitting in your subconscious, the bad performance.
So what you're talking about there is embracing the failure for what it can teach, but not for the shame that it can bring. Is that fair?
I wish I could speak like you.
Good articulation.
It's the benefit of I get to listen, and I'm in love right now because the conversation's super fun. You're basically like a self-driven grit train right now. You're just running with the type of extreme personal ownership, growth mindset. I'm going to improve and live this life intentionally, and I don't care if I get knocked out. I'm coming and coming and coming again.
Yeah.
That I'm in love with. So this is fun.
When I started going I did Calgary, Albertville, and Salt Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started speaking professionally. I used to sell copiers in Houston, and this kid, right before the Salt Lake City Olympics, this kid asked me to be his show and tell project in school when I came back, right? And believe it or not, I'm an introvert, okay? Everybody thinks, no, you're a liar. No, I'm an introvert. I just get excited when I was talking personal development or Olympics. It's like Clark Kent turns into Superman, but I'm usually Clark Kent.
So you get both right now because you get talked about both.
So I'm a little excited. Right? So I never took a speech class in my life. I mean, it'd be a total waste because I'm an introvert. I mean, I feel if we're having dinner, 3 couples, friends, right? Now we got 6 people, I turn into the wallflower because that's my comfort zone, right? If it's one-on-one, like when we had coffee, piece of cake for me. That's my comfort zone, right? So this kid asked me to be his show and tell project in school. I thought, sure, why not, right? I pictured 20 kids in a classroom, right, back in, the old days, and show and tell. Everybody's going to show something today, so I'm in there in and out in 5 minutes. I brought the Olympic torch, which I got here. I was a torchbearer for the Salt Lake City Olympics, so I got the torch.
Well, hold on. Let's not skim over this.
All right.
We'll
come back. We will come back
to that. All right.
He's in charge.
Yeah, okay.
No, you reel me in. Otherwise, I am so ADD. I got tangents on my tangents.
Ruben,
we do want to talk about it because it's cool.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll go. So remind me.
Okay.
I say that. I'm been professional speaker for 20 years. And I'll say that to the guys in the front row. I'll say, look, guys, you're going to have to reel me in because otherwise.
I'm on fire here.
No telling, man.
Yeah.
And so I took the torch. I took the helmet. I took my sled. I thought, no prisoners, okay? I'm going to get my gold medal finally, even if it's just a show and tell. I mean, that was my mindset. I'm going to kill.
Yeah. This kid's going to love it.
5th graders.
Yeah.
So I go to the school. The principal takes me to the cafeteria. They'd moved all the furniture, and now it's called the auditorium, right? Mm-hmm. And he says, okay, you're on. There's 200 kids sitting on the floor. He says, you got 45 minutes, have at 'em. I thought I was going to die. I mean, that door looked so inviting. I mean, I was ready to run. And I said a little prayer. I said, God, what do I do now, right? That was my prayer. I even forgot to say amen.
Wasn't eloquent, just
no,
very raw and real.
Heart, it was real, baby.
Right.
What do I do? And what I felt I needed to do is just tell them your story and give them some pointers to help them reach their dreams. And I did. And afterwards, the teachers, they surrounded me. They go, what do we got to do, to get you to stick around another hour? We'll pull the 4th graders out of class. I said, hey, bring them on. That was actually fun. Second time around was, better. And I realized that the dynamic of a bunch of people is like one big fat person. That's it. Because they're not talking back, right? So it's like a one-on-one. But I didn't know that. So we have all these mental blocks in our brain that keep holding us back. All these fears, fear of failure, fear of the unknown, all this stuff that's holding us back. But 9 times out of 10, if you face your fear, you realize it's just a smokescreen. So I did that.
Great.
And then I started losing again for Vancouver, and I have no idea why I told you that story. There was a reason.
Show and tell.
But, yeah. But I don't know. It was a show and tell.
Yeah. But it was. But you said just to back up a second. You're saying that these little things that you do to get you closer to the goal, right? There's this feast and forget kind of thing, and it is uncomfortable in the moment, and even tempting to run away from it. But it's absolutely important that you walk forward into it. Otherwise, you'll go no further down the path.
Yeah, lean into that fear.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in a 10-story building and you're afraid because you're on the edge, don't lean into that one, okay? I mean, you gotta be smart, but and that's why a mentor's so important. Coach or a mentor, somebody that'll, shows you I always look for somebody that's done what I want to do, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody's done it, not somebody that wrote 10 books about it but never did it, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's done it. Somebody's been in that minefield, right? Knows how to cross it, and I'll, that's the key.
A practitioner, not a theorist.
There you go.
Yeah.
We've talked about like how being afraid of the moment can feel so much like a believable reality. Like I have to listen to this fear. I have to go for that door. Like you said, that door looked really inviting. But also in your mind, you're like, well, what if what if I one day wake up and go, hey, what if I had shown up and done that? And what I love about it is that it was so important to you. I think you're anxious in some sense because you really wanted to show up for this. Like, it was like, somebody could say, oh, it's just a bunch of elementary kids. But you were like, no, I really want to kill it. I want to impress this kid who's trusted me enough to be like, this is my show and tell project.
Well,
I
actually wanted to beat all those kids. You know, there were some kid's going to bring a frog and talk about the frog. Some other kid's going to, a mason jar. That's his show and tell. But he's forgotten, so he picked it up out of his breakfast table. And I thought, I want to, no, it's competition.
I'm going to crush these kids.
I'm going to crush these kids. I mean, that's what it was.
I love it.
I'm a little competitive.
Came in hot.
Well, part of the story you shared between the one with the kids, one I love that you went in prepared for a 5-minute show and tell, right? 9 times that is what you had to do. A 900% increase of time. Yeah. And then you had to double it again for the 4th graders. But at that point, you had engaged the discomfort enough that you were in game mode, right? Yeah. It had gone from, okay, there's the door, to no, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to tell my story, to that was fun. I'm going to make it better now because I'm just talking to one giant fat person being the crowd of hundreds of students.
I've never heard that before. That's great. I'm going to use that.
So now I'm walking out, after the second talk, walking back to my car with the principal. The principal's going nuts, right? Man, you got a gift. You're better than people we pay. You do this for a living. I said, what, you get paid for show and tell? And he goes, no, man, it's the speaking profession. Don't you know anything? Apparently I didn't. But he was so in my face about it, he got me thinking. I always want to have my own business, but I didn't know how to go about it. And the next 3 days, I'm thinking, man, that was fun. A whole lot more fun than knocking on doors trying to sell a copier. Maybe I can inspire some people to really go for it in life. I quit my job 3 days later, okay? I don't recommend it. But I thought if I can sell a copier, I can sell a Ruben too. Started hitting the phones, calling all the schools in Houston, and that's how I started my business. First year and a half of schools, and because of my sales background, it became more and more corporate, and it's crazy. I mean, I've spoken for over 100 Fortune 500 companies in the last 20 years, and it all started with some show and tell, right? Now you know what a speaker was.
Do you know what I love about that real quick? It started with the show and tell. For a kid you haven't met, you thought you were going to be in a 20-person classroom. This was not a ticket to greatness. This was a small opportunity you just chose to say yes to instead of no to, which most people would have written off. And I think when you're going through things and you're looking for the yacht to pick you up in life, but sometimes it's the small, unexpected things that when you show up, you showed up, it sounds like 110% ready to bludgeon these kids with the torch because you're going to win. You're going to win the day for this kid who asked you to come and speak. And that changed the trajectory of your life, that one small yes.
Yeah.
And showing up 100%.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And I, one time, I was speaking for this group, the Houstonian Club is this country club. It's kind of like a Flying Horse out here, right? It's where or Broadmoor, right?
Kind of affluent.
It's just like $20,000 just to get in, and I was going to speak there, right? And the guy told me, "Oh yeah, it's for free, right? But you never know who's in the audience." And I thought, yeah, it's going to be 150 people. It's going to be great. Come on in. I go. There's 6 people, right? And something made me remember that Michael Jordan, he used to say that even if it's the first game of the season, I'm playing all out because there's some kid out in the audience. That's the only time he's going to see Michael Jordan, and I want to be remembered that way, right? Not just as a slacker. Yeah. And I had that Michael Jordan thought. I said, I'm going to rock, right? We did the talk. We finished at 10:30 at night. One of the 6 was an AstraZeneca pharmaceutical sales rep. That night, when we got home, which must have been close to midnight, he called his boss's boss, and he says, man, I'm ready to run through walls, man. I just heard this guy. Long story short, I got 2 gigs with AstraZeneca. Because, why? Because I wasn't a fathead that, I'm too good to speak to 6 people. Right. Just give it all, and you never know.
So there's the counterpoint to the first one. So when you go to show up for 20 kids, and there's, sounds like 500 between your 2 speeches, right? Like hundreds of kids. And you're like, whoa, this is way more than I was expecting. Then you go to this place where this is an opportunity. This is going to break down walls, and there's going to be 150 really well-connected, networked, affluent people that I could maybe get some things. You walk into room 6. And once again, this is where I think there's something deeper to pull out. You're like, all right, here we go. It's game time. My expectation of what the game's going to look like doesn't matter. It's only that the game is to be played, and you engaged fully, and then there you go. You got the next step. And the next step.
And that's just being a professional. When you come down to it, you just all out, no matter what. You're sick, you got the flu, right? But you have a gig. You got a gig. Anybody can be on for an hour. I don't care how sick you are. Okay, and then you can go back, crawl in bed, and die. But at least you can do your job, right? And because it's your reputation, right? You don't want to blow your reputation. So yeah.
Well, you shouldn't want to. But that's the point of what we're trying to talk about here is really just have enough self-pride to not want to blow your reputation for comfort.
And if you're an employee, it applies to you too, okay? It does, because that's how you get promoted. That's how you stand out. Sometimes I'm speaking to depends on the group, but I'll say something like, any of you guys want to get promoted? Is that, I know most of you guys don't. Most of you guys are probably happy where you are, but maybe a few of you guys. And you always get 3 or 4 hands, right? Mm-hmm. That's okay. When I wanted to be promoted from 3-time Olympian to 4-time Olympian, first thing I did was call coach, right? Coach is my boss, okay? I called coach and I said, okay, number 1, can we do it? Is it possible? Yes. Okay. All right, let's lay out a game plan. Let's do it, right? I'll do whatever you say. And so if you go to your boss, right, and say the same thing. Hey, I'd really like to get promoted, right? So can we put together a game plan, figure out what I need to work on? Maybe we can get together, coffee once a month, just to get some feedback, right? And I had somebody say, "Oh, we only get feedback every 6 months." Well, you can change the rules, okay? You tell your boss you want to do it every 2 weeks, all of a sudden, just by going out there and saying that to them. And you got to be willing to do the work, okay? Don't just say it, but you got to back it up. But just the fact that you did that, now they're looking at you, right? Now they notice you. Now you're in the short list. You got the attitude, the desire, right? Yeah. And if you actually start, doing the things and learning whatever it needs to reach that next level, you'll get the promotion. You just got to ASK to GET,
Yeah. You'll earn.
You'll earn.
Right?
Beautiful.
You'll earn it.
You guys got to write a book, man. Between your ideas and the way you put the word, you guys don't even need you don't even need an editor, all right? Okay, okay. It's my challenge to you, okay? You two,
Thank you.
Not the audience. These guys, okay? I mean, they're interviewing all these cool people. They're extracting all these lessons. This is a series of books, okay? A series, all right?
You are a dangerous friend, Ruben, in a wonderful way.
I'm really enjoying this. This is good. I like it. What's actually funny, so I sent Aaron a text and he didn't respond to it, so it's fine.
Are we doing this now?
We're doing this now. Monday morning, we're going to work through all of our things so that the skies part and there's rainbows and sunshine. No, but I saw on my calendar, because we've known each other 4 or 5 years now? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so at one point, we're working on some projects together, and I made a 3-year revolving reminder calendar thing. Mm-hmm. And September 1st was the 3rd year. And it just said, status check, where are we on our goals? And I think the means with which we're pursuing our goals have changed. Mm-hmm. But I think we're hard hunting them, right? Mm-hmm. We're sitting here doing this, it's changed. But I saw that, I was like, that's super cool. 3 years ago, we made this while sitting at a Panera. Yep. And now 3 years later, we're sitting here, episode 26
writing a
today.
podcast.
Yeah, writing a podcast. And to me, I know I made it sound like we're going dark there for a second. But to me, it was this really exciting reminder of okay, it's not just showing up every time and being humble enough to just put out as a professional, put in the hard work, regardless if it's 6 or 100, right? It's also the matter of doing it consistently. You gave the example when you were fighting for the luge, that there was all these guys and just day after day they were not showing up, but you just kept showing up. And then coupled with that, you were fast enough. But even if you weren't, you wouldn't have shame, because you talked about your deathbed. And when you're on your deathbed, you would hate to ask the what if I had, right? Mm-hmm. And it's I'm so obsessed with the idea. I'm caught between 2 places. I'm caught between the what if on the worst side, the failures, what if I'd just given more, and the ideal, perfect version that I could become if I pursue things doggedly enough. And it's if I have to meet both of those people, which one am I going to be more like? I certainly want to be the evolved version,
when I was in high school, I read this story or this study that they had done. They interviewed a bunch of octogenarians, 80-year-old people. They asked them, what's your biggest regrets in life? Number 1 and 2 were not spending enough time with your family, and that was one of them. And the other one was playing life too safe, not taking enough risks. When I read that, I thought, okay, when I'm 80, I'm just going to, whenever I have the choice, I'll just take the riskiest route, the scariest route, all right? And that was when I'm 80, I don't have that one, that regret, all right? And then when Cheryl and I were dating, we married over 25 years, but when we were dating, one of my mentors was a homeschooler, right? And the first time I went to his house, he had an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, and these boys were like a cut above, okay? Look at you right in the eyes, shake your hand, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, I mean, that kind of deal. And I asked him, Craig, what's the deal, man, with your kids? I mean, these are like little adults. What's up with that? He goes, we homeschool them, okay? It's not about the education, it's about the values. We control the values around here. And that planted a seed. And we've homeschooled both of our kids from day one, and they're champs, right? And I say we, because Cheryl does all the school stuff. I'm PE and attitude, okay, mental toughness. but yeah, so no regrets. Started in high school. You mentioned consistency. Tell you a quick story about that. It wasn't until 2 years into learning how to luge that I had my first clean run. A clean run means you didn't even brush against any walls, all right? You're not necessarily fast, but it's a huge milestone because you threaded the needle the whole way down, right? And I was so pumped up. And my coach, he's a 4-time Olympian. He's this Austrian guy, 4-time Olympian, 3-time world champion, all right? So this guy's tough as nails. It looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, mean. You play Monopoly with him? I mean, seriously. We play Monopoly, he will not trade cards with you, and he still wins. I mean, anyways, so I get to the bottom, and I'm so excited. I got my clean run. I can't wait to talk to Coach on the walkie-talkie because they're up, at a tough part of the track watching us. Coach, I had a clean run. And he says, good. Now you know it's possible. I said, what?
That's all you get.
That's all I got. And then I went up, right? I go, man. I went back up. I mean, Coach, now I'm face to face. I had a clean run, man. Come on. He goes, yes, it's possible, but good is not good enough. Okay? Olympics, 4 runs in all counts. Okay? It's like golf. You can blow it on the 18th hole. So good is not good. You must be consistently good. All right?
Fair. Yep.
Don't think you arrived. My kid's piano teacher, she's got this sign on the wall, which I love. It says, you don't practice till you get it right. You practice till you can't get it wrong. And there's a lot of practice between those 2 points.
I love that. A really small tongue-in-cheek example of that is my son and I have been doing a lot more archery lately. We play a competition with it. And I'm using a buddy's bow. I haven't bought one for myself yet. So it's not zeroed to me. So it shoots up and left, but I won't let myself go past my center spot until I get all 6 shots in the bullseye. And then I'll add distance. But it's the same thing. It's like, oh, now I'm getting all in the first 2 rings. This is a huge improvement. But it's not good enough, consistently enough for me to add another 5 yards.
That's so good.
Or 5 meters. So it's that exact thing. It's the same for my son. He's like, oh, Dad, I want to come further back. I was like, you're not hitting the center enough to come further back yet. So once you hit it with every arrow,
you have to earn it.
You have to earn it.
The right.
The consistency at a high performance earns the right.
I love it. That reminds me how we learned how to luge. First time, like in, let's say, Park City. Park City's got 16 curves, and they put you on curve 12. That's just where everybody starts. You're going about 20, 25 miles an hour. 20 miles an hour. Crash, 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 crash. Figure it out. You finally, as soon as you figure it out, right, your mind, right, you got to train your mind, right? It's like riding a bike, You're falling because your mind hasn't figured it out yet. So you have to stay in the game long enough to learn the skills. Usually it's the mind. And so finally figured it out. Coach moves you up a couple of curves. Now you're going 30 miles an hour. Oh, my gosh. Crash, crash, crash. Moves you up. You literally crash your way to the top. Takes about 100 runs. You go up to the top. But it's kind of like the arrows, right? You got to work your way up.
I like your example more. How do you get to the top? Crash your way.
Crash your way to the top. That's it.
Yeah. Fail faster.
Fail faster. Fail faster. When I got started speaking, I just quit my job, right? Gabriella's a 1.5 years old. Cheryl's a full-time mom, and here I go and quit my job overnight, no income and no health insurance. Mama was not happy that day. And so, but I knew I could do it. And so February, I'm at the Olympics. March, April, May, I'm living the dream, right? I'm speaking to schools all over town, and I'm actually making decent money. But I forgot the summer's going to be dead because it's, it's off. So June, July, August, $0, okay? And by now, I've already, there's no friends and family money left, okay? Because they've already given me all their money to go to the Olympics. By August, we're on food stamps, okay? I mean, humbled big time. Food stamps. 3 months behind our house payment. That close from losing the house. Shot our credit. Top of the world at the Olympics in February. Humbled big time in August. And that's when I realized, oh my gosh. I tell everybody to find a coach or a mentor. And I'm not even taking my own advice. I can tell some good stories, but I don't know how to build this business. I got to find a speaker, a successful speaker, right? And I found one. He'd been in the business for 12 years. We lived in a big old house. He had fruit on the trees. Fruit on the trees is important. And so I went to him. And at first he wouldn't. I had to earn my way. I'm not going to tell you all the stuff he made me do, but basically he did. And one thing he said was, Ruben, just throw mud on the wall, okay? Just throw mud on the wall. Someone's going to stick, and we can clean up the mess later. Perfectionists never succeed because they wait till everything's perfect before taking the first step, and nothing's ever going to be perfect. You just get started now with what you got and just throw mud on the wall, all right? And I'm glad he told me that. And 20 years later, I'm still throwing mud on the wall. Yeah. I mean, really. Oh, this is a little mud. This is a little mud. This is a little throw. Because there just might be somebody that's listening that's looking for somebody like me to pump up his or her sales team. And boom. Right. So this is a little mud on the wall. Well, it's an opportunity to expose myself, right? I like that. Without getting, arrested.
Two things I really want to pull from that. One, it's not original whatsoever, but perfection. There's a saying that goes around in these types of conversations that perfection is the enemy of action, right? Like, because if you're just pursuing perfection, you'll never actually get something out. It just has to be the mud on the wall good enough, right? Like, oh, it breathes, good. Push it out there type of thing. And you joked about how you had to earn your way for this guy, right? And I couldn't help but think that was so wise of him. That was good stewardship of him. That was him managing his resources well. Because if you're in a position that you can help other people, a lot of people are going to come and want your help for free and then never apply it, and they waste your time, they waste theirs. But if you put barriers of entry in, right, and those who overcome the barriers of entry, now it's a good investment of your time and energy. Even if you don't get anything in return, you're accountable for your time. So to yourself, to your family, right, you're paying it out. So it's like, I can't help but admire him just even for that. I don't know a thing about him, just for that one example of, hey, yeah, I'll help you if you go through whatever this earn your way is. Yeah. Because then I know you're serious enough that I'm not wasting my breath on you. Yeah. And not wasting my own time, which I could give to my kids or my family or my whatever.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah. It's like football season. I never play football. I play soccer, but it's similar. First 2 weeks of football, coach makes it tough. Okay, he's working them out like crazy because he wants to weed out the wannabes, right? And he wants to figure out who his real team is. And so basically, that's how the coach does, right? And make it tough. And it's funny. First thing this guy tells me, Jim, we're at a coffee shop, and the first thing out of his mouth. And he's a big, tall, mean guy too. Okay, I'm such a hardhead that all my mentors got to be, animals, right? 'Cause this guy actually, I've known him for 20 years, but he still intimidates me. He puts out the Sopranos vibe or something. Anyway, but it works. And so he goes, I don't care if you're a 10-time Olympian, unless you write a book, no one's going to take you seriously because an author is considered the authority of his subject. He wrote the book on it. It's the business card nobody ever throws away. And I'm thinking, this guy must have a publishing company. He's pitching me, right? I told him, I can't write a book. I'm 8 C's in English, okay? My parents celebrated. I brought a C in anything. A bubbly came out. He goes, you got a great story. You write it down. We give it to some A students. They clean it up for you. That's just grammar. I thought, oh, my gosh, I didn't think about that. And he goes, yes, it's called editing, so shut up and sit down. He just beat me up, right? All right? But see, I have all these great reasons why I can't be an author, right? Because I can't buy a beat, all right? And he, in one phrase, he says, no, that's a bunch of BS, man. Just do this, this, and this. What's your next problem? That's the beauty of having a mentor. It saves a lot of time. And people always tell me the same thing. Well, I don't want to impose. They're so busy. I don't want to waste their time, right? I tell them, look, if your attitude is you're actually going to do it, right? You want it, you're going to bust your ass, to make it happen, right?
Yep.
Then definitely approach them, okay? If you just want to be an eternal learner, then leave them alone, all right? But let me explain why you're not wasting their time if you're that hungry person. You know how I always hear people say, oh, yeah, she's successful, but she's not happy. Or he's successful, but he's empty inside. He's always looking for something else. I was, yeah. Well, you know what that is? It's because success is not the gold medal. Success is the silver medal, okay? All right? You still got a little hole in your heart. The gold medal is significance. That means you help somebody else succeed. You made a difference. You created a ripple effect. The world is better because of you, right? So if you go out there and do everything they say and you reach that goal or dream, then you get your silver, they get their gold, and you might even become best friends, right? And so it works. It works. And so, yeah. So that's why mentors are mentors.
I heard a story recently of one of the top guys at Tesla. He's talking about Elon Musk and what drives him. And who built the wooden plane, the Spruce Goose?
Oh, that's Howard Hughes.
That's what I'm talking about, Howard Hughes. So like, here's this guy in his own life that was a genius, and people, he was highly heralded. But at the end, though he did all these great things that were, what you said, what the silver medal was, right?
Yeah.
He was there, but his significance in the long, because Musk comes back to this guy and they had this conversation. He says, Hughes was not who I am. I'm no Howard Hughes, because Howard Hughes, his inventions did not have a significant impact on the people. Does anyone or ride around in a wooden plane anymore? It's like, that was cool back then for that moment, but ultimately it didn't impact humanity. And what we do at Tesla impacts.
Yeah.
I want to have significant impact well beyond my life.
And Jobs, Steve Jobs, he wanted to put a dent in the universe. Oh, that's a pretty big goal.
Yeah.
So,
that's the highest level of drive.
Yeah.
That really
make a difference.
It keeps on going.
It's a matter of staying the course, being consistently good enough, continuing to shave off the crud, and the target will reveal itself, right? You were in that pursuit, Ruben, and you went and spoke to some kids, and that started a 20-year speaking career, right? You looked for, what can I just outlast people in? And you have 40 years of luge, and you're going for 5 games in 5 decades for 50 years, setting another record, right? For yourself, because you're like, if I could do this, what if I could do that, right? So you're going to give it your all, and you're pursuing that. And it's like, and the luge became your first target, right? The thing that you could put on the wall and pursue and keep in front of your face and do. And that's a beautiful thing. And it draws you forward. And it's like, that is so gorgeous. When you find the target that you can aim all of your being at, that's a gorgeous thing. It's a good thing. And then you know what you could be if you just threw in the towel, that what if.
It gives you purpose.
Yeah.
It feels like, it's like life is so unfocused. If you don't have a dream or a goal and you're not, you're all over the place, you're just wandering aimlessly, right? But when you find something that's really important to you, right? Your goal, not what your mom and dad wants you to do, just what's in your heart, everything focuses and everything makes more sense, and you have more, like I said, purpose, right? And that feels good inside. You know? And by the way, I don't know what made me think of this, but I hated the luge, okay? I was killing myself out there. The first, even through 3 Olympics. And this is because I didn't listen to coaches too much, okay? I'm a hard head, which is good, because a hard head, makes you perseverant. But I'm also a hard head. I don't like people telling me what to do, right? I'm highly unemployable. It's a good thing that I work for myself. And so, authority challenges. Let's just call it that way. And so I would always, part of me wouldn't let go, whenever coaches gave me instruction. And that slowed down my improvement. And when I started training for Vancouver, and I was 45 when I started training, this different coach, he goes, "Hey, Ruben, I can't believe you're still scared, man, after all these years. I mean, you're still scared sliding?" And I told him, look, he asked me, "What's going on in your head?" as you're sliding. And I says, man, as I see those walls going faster and faster, I get tighter and tighter. And by the bottom half of the track, I can't believe I can even drive because I'm so stiff. And you need to be loose on the, the top guys. When you watch a super slow-mo video of a German sliding, you can actually see ripples going on his body because everything's so relaxed. They look like they're laying on a hammock reading a paperback. I look like I'm a Bronco buster, okay? I mean, that's how. And so he says, Coach, he says, well, luge is not even about speed. I said, what? It's not. You know, we're surrounded by speed, but every track is fast. That's a given. But it's not. You know, you could be clocked at the fastest speed, but if you crash at the bottom of the track, you lost the race. Luge is about time. Who has the best time? It's the only sport, winter or summer Olympics, is time to the 1/1000th of a second. Everything counts, okay? Even your breathing counts, believe it or not. Hold your breath the whole way down, you're half a second slower. That's 500 thousandths of a second. That's a lot of time. If you breathe, then you're faster because you're looser. So he said, you need to put on blinders. Don't look at those walls. Those walls are you're focusing on the wrong thing. Don't focus on those walls. They're just scaring you. You need to focus on a spot 30 feet in front of you. Your mindset needs to be, what do I need to do in every section of every curve? How do I drive it to ensure I have the best time? And if you do that, if you change your focus, the whole experience will change and the fear will go away. And I trust this guy. And that's one thing. The older I've gotten, the more I've trusted and just let go and just followed blindly because I know that they've got the goods, right? And that night I did about 100 mind runs, right? Visualization runs with blinders on, not looking at those walls. Next day I go take a run. The fear disappeared. Okay, it didn't reduce in intensity; it disappeared. Changing the focus changed the whole experience. And what's everybody focusing on today? You know, the economy, COVID, you know, I can't do. Well, COVID is here for everybody, okay? And the economy. So don't watch the news, okay? Don't read the newspaper. You guys are laughing. I'm not the first one who said this, huh? The news, you know how they get ratings? Two ways. Two ways to get good ratings, all right? Make you mad and make you scared because that gets you talking, all right? Yep. But neither of those is good for your business, right? And so don't watch the news.
Bad for mindset, too.
Right. Yeah. And so your mindset is,
yeah,
what do I need to do in the next 15 minutes to move my business forward? You know, who do I need to call? Follow up, you know, how you doing call, right? Just to strengthen the relationship, whatever. But what do I need to do on every section, every curve? What do I do in 15 minutes to move it forward?
And this is what fear and excuse, that other voices, starting with your own, you got to deal with your own voices. But even when outside people say, well, what about this? Or you got to pass here. It really takes you from that. You say 30 feet in front of you is what what your coach is telling you, right? You got to stay down the road mentally, but excuses bring you to the moment right in front of you, and make you look at the walls. As you say, and it's sort of like, no, look at the walls. No, I'm not looking. I'm looking down there. Yeah. Stop trying to distract me.
Yeah. So those first 25 years when I was scared, white knuckled it. Okay, I white knuckled it. The handles on a luge sled. They're just two pieces of rebar that are welded to this metal bridge, okay? And it's just rebar, all right? So rebar is about that thick, all right? A couple of times in the early years when I got to the bottom, I had bent the handle from the fear, okay? I can't do that if I'm not scared. That's like Granny picking up a car to save a baby, you know? Yeah, that's how scared I was. So I hated the luge. I white-knuckled it for 25 years, but I realized that the luge is the vehicle. The Olympics is the dream. I got to ride that vehicle if I want to get to the dream. I'm not going to do it on ping pong. I'm not going to do it with, luge. It's the one that fits me. So you got to ride your vehicle, baby.
Why the
That's
dream?
profound.
Right? Because if you're facing something you're terrified of for 25 years before you're like, oh, I'm focused on the wrong thing, and that starts to make it more enjoyable. Why?
Why what?
Why for you? Why did you keep doing it?
Why? Because I wanted to go to the Olympics, the opening ceremonies. People say, whenever there's a Q&A at the end of a presentation, lots of times, especially if it's getting close to the Olympics, they'll say, hey, are you going to get the medal? And I start laughing, right? I say, man, at my age, I'll be happy to make the cover of AARP, right? But no, for 80%, think about this, okay? And it'll suddenly make sense. Because the media makes it all about the medal. It's a medal count, right? And if you got fourth place, you're a loser. I mean, that's basically how they paint it. Right, and think about the NBA or the NFL or the baseball. I don't even know what the baseball league's called.
MLB.
MLB? I never would have picked that. Oh, Major League Baseball. That makes sense. Okay. So, anyways, at the beginning of the season, there's only a few teams, maybe 3 or 4 teams that are in it that year. You know, one of these is going to be Super Bowl champion, right? Everybody else is either rebuilding or they're never going to be there in this lifetime, maybe in 90 years, like the Cubs had to go so long before they won, right? And so when you watch the opening ceremonies at any Olympics, 80% of those athletes, they're not in the top echelon, right? There's only a few that are going. So for 80% of the athletes at the Olympics, the opening ceremonies is the gold medal, getting to walk in and march, and it's the pride. I'm getting goosebumps now just telling you about it because you know, and it didn't wear off. And so it's there's all these pride races going on within the 50. For example, I was always around 45, right? Out of the 50, the way they and not really 40
athletes, right?
Yeah, 50 athletes, 50 men get to go, right? In the old days, then it was 40. And that's one reason I started listening to Coach before Vancouver, because I was always around 45. Vancouver's going to be top 40. So I was going to have to be doing things that I'd never done before just to reach it, right? And so, and get this. December 31st, before the Olympics in February, that's when they say, okay, these are the 40, right? I'm number 42. I didn't qualify for Vancouver, right? But it's not over till it's over, right? The Olympics are in February. So I thought, okay, you never know. But I have to place, in case somebody gets hurt, hey, gets in a car crash, broke his leg, okay, now I'm 41. Right? Gets appendicitis, hey, I'm 40, right? I mean, you think it's possible. It's possible. So what do? Well, you got to prepare yourself in case. And so Vancouver was the fastest track in the world, right? They said when we first went there to learn this, oh, by the way, and by the way, if anybody ever tells you, by the way, that means the next thing's going to be really bad news. So brace yourself, okay? By the way, the engineers messed up. The track's 20 miles an hour too fast. Well, what are you going to do, you know? You still want to go to the Olympics, right? So you figure it out. But so the second fastest track in the world was the one in Park City, Utah. And so all of January, I was in Park City, you know, just getting some speed training, right? Just getting my mind focused on speed so that if somebody got hurt and I got bumped up. And then I had a gig in a speaking engagement in Milwaukee, speaking to about a couple hundred salespeople. I had this big sign that said, believe and achieve, right? And they weren't getting happy Ruben then. They were getting Ruben as, you know, fighting for his life for the Olympics. Right? So I wasn't candy coating it at all.
A little intense. Yeah,
a little different level. Yeah, they're getting more for their money. But, hey, I look at that sign, and I look at the manager. I said, that's a bunch of BS. And the guy goes, what? I said, look, guys, don't tell me what you believe. Just what you do shows me what you believe, okay? You got to believe to achieve, but just show me, okay?
Yeah.
And you know what I believe? I believe that I'll be in the Olympics in 3 weeks, all right? And you know what I did up in my hotel room before I spoke to you guys? I bought 4 non-refundable flights to Vancouver. Non-refundable on purpose, right? Because I want a commitment in there from myself, my wife, and our kids. And because I believe I want to do it. Because if you jump, you know, if you believe something badly enough, you jump, the net will appear. And I got a golf clap that day. You know, you must have thought this guy's nuts, right? He must have hit his head last time he had a crash. They're not buying it at all. And when that happens, it's because they don't believe as much as me. Nothing wrong with my message, right? They're just babies. I just gave them some PhD stuff by accident. But I go back to my hotel after speaking to them, open up my laptop. There's a message that said, you made it. Norway decided not to send their 3 guys. Because Norway, even though they have 4 million people, they've won more Winter Olympic medals than any other country, okay? They're number 1 because they decided. Because they're willing to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes. It's a successful decision, right? And Norway took that decision. And so Norway didn't send their 3 guys because even though they were in the top 40, they're not. Norway won't send you to go. They send you to win. So you got to be in the top 20 for Norway to send you. So you got bumped up. You're 39 now. You know, at the opening ceremonies, I want to carry the Norwegian flag, man. They help me more than anybody. Yeah. In fact, I got a Norwegian flag up actually it's on that side. I got my bookcases. I got a Norwegian flag there, and I've got one. You know, whenever I do podcasts, I don't have a podcast, but I'm a guest, right? I'm a guest shooting from home. which that's what I thought we were going to do. I'm really glad we came here.
Yeah, right.
I mean, the live ones are so much more fun. but I got a picture of a Norwegian flag in the back too, right? Because I don't want to get a fat head. I always want to remember on a daily basis that I'm a 4-time Olympian with a little help from Norway.
Well, isn't that part of it? Like, it's so much so you just get something, some aid can come in when you're not looking for it because you're just noses to the grindstone you're pursuing. This guy was like, yeah, you're working too hard. You just got to work smarter. And then someone rebuked him with, sometimes it's smarter to work smarter. You have to work harder. And it's kind of funny because it's like, okay, well, if you're doing everything that you can, then, and it's out of your control, maybe Norway will pull their 3 guys and you'll get in.
But I wasn't thinking that.
No,
I had
of
no
course
clue.
not.
Yeah, but you never know. And it cuts both ways, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at the Calgary Olympics, Norbert Huber, Italian slider, he was winning everything that year. I mean, Norbert was going to win gold, and the race was for second place because Norbert had it. 2 weeks before, he gets appendicitis. He's out. He missed the Olympics. He was never up to that level anymore because there's so many good losers in Italy that he never, somebody else took his spot the next time around. You believe that?
Goodness.
Best in the world. But I was saying before, pride. So let's say I'm at I had a World Cup race in the old days. I want to beat Pablo Garcia from Spain. He's my best buddy in the circuit, but he's always about 5 spots in front of me. If I can beat Pablo, I won the gold medal. Right? Pablo's gunning for the Swede. Man, if you can beat that Swede, Pablo's, cloud 9. The Swede's going after this Czech, the Czech going for this Italian going for this. There's all these pride races, but the only one that anybody cares about, TV makes people care about is the one up at the top.
So they have different markers than what everybody else is putting on them.
Yeah, we're all racing against it. There's pride in it, baby.
Mm-hmm.
You want to do your best. Yeah.
How many seconds are we talking about? You want to beat Pablo. What do you got to do to beat Pablo?
Half a second.
Half a second.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's bigger at the bottom, actually. At the top, it might be 1/100 of a second.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a tie. I mean, there's been ties. In fact, in Park City, the men's four bobsled, they tied. First and second place, tied to the 1,000ths of a second. No, 1/100th. They do 1/100th. We do 1/1000th. But anyways, yeah, sometimes there's
What I love about that is the difference between good and great is like a huge leap, right? It's a huge span of performance, but the difference between excellence and perfection, like you're saying, can be 100th, 1,000th of a second.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, between me and the top guys, my best run, I'm about 2.5 behind the gold. But yeah, you're thinking, yeah.
But I'm not in your world.
The layman doesn't see it,
Right.
right? You can be standing at the track. I look just like all the other guys, but I'm a 2.5 behind them.
Yep.
And it's tough when you get to that point.
That's
the better
awesome.
you get, the harder it is to, right, get the next. I go to Calgary when I was 55, just to see if my old body could handle 6 Gs. And I went and started taking runs, and I realized I was stronger. And I was listening to coaches, so I was learning faster, right? The more I listened, the faster I learned. Right? It's the best way to learn, just to get better, to improve. So when we decided, I went in October just on a whim, and I was sliding better. And they said, why don't you come back in December? It's going to be a World Cup race, If you can qualify at that race, you'll be the oldest ever to compete in an international race in our sport. I thought, cool, Guinness Book of World Records, right? And there's not a category, though. But so I go, and every few years they change rules. And so I was going to have to buy a new helmet, right? And so the new helmet comes with a visor. And the visor is big, and you have to cut it. And so we put the sled up on this table, and a buddy of mine, Guntis Rekis from Latvia, he helps he's the coach of the Canadian team up there. He helped me out. He's a 3-time Olympian, super guy. And so we got the sled up on the table, and he's cutting a little bit, and then I got to lie down. We do it over and over, till it fits, right? And you want the visor to fit. And he goes, okay, I think we got it. Great. Okay, so now why don't you do a practice, just like a start and lay down. And I did, right? And as soon as I lay down, he looks at me and goes, that's not how you hold the handles. I said, what?
How many years into the sport are you?
30 years into the sport. That's not how you bounce a basketball, right? I mean, it's basically the same thing, right? That's not how you hold basketball. what? What do you mean? That's not how I hold the handles. He goes, I hold them like, well, you always hold them like this, right? I mean, you got the, like that's you're holding like this, right? Like a fist. And whenever I would get to the bottom of the track, pick up the walkie-talkie, Gunther, different guy, Gunther the Austrian, right? Ruben, you must relax. You must relax. I've heard that a million times. He never taught me how to relax, right? Mm-hmm. But so it's helpless. It's like telling somebody, believe in yourself. Oh, that sounds good, but it's worthless. You know how you believe in yourself? Hang around winners, read a bunch of good books, and let it percolate. Wait a few years, you believe in yourself, right? So I'm too tight, which is making me slow. And Guntis, the Latvian, says, that's not how you hold it. Because when you're holding like this, your fist, you make a fist, the tension starts up your forearm, goes to your chest. Now you're all tight because of your hand. Okay? You know what they say with sprinters, right? Loose hands and loose jaw. You run a lot faster like this than like this. Like this, you're slow. That says, this is how you hold your handles, Ruben. You only hold it with these two fingers, because they can't make any strength, and that's enough to hold you in place. Okay, that'll just hold you in place, like a gun. Just think that you're a cowboy, all right, like that.
From my perspective, though, that's your seatbelt.
I know, yeah.
And you're like, I would take your 4 weakest fingers and hold your body to this thing.
Hold that like that. Right?
I was going to ask, what did the next run feel like when you're just holding on with two after 30 years of trying?
Oh, well, so he says, okay, you do that. And I was so mad when he told me that, because I thought, here, I've been suffering and barely making it to the Olympics, my first 3, because I could have done this, right? Why didn't they tell me this, right? Instead of just telling me, Ruben, you must relax, be one with the sled, have fun, click. But anyway, so okay, Ruben, try it again. So I lay down, and of course, muscle memory. I grabbed it like the normal way. He goes, Ruben. He goes, oh no, that's okay, man. I got it, Guntis. I got it. I'll do it like this. He goes, no, get off the sled. He grabs a grinder. He cuts my handles in half so only 2 fingers will fit. I go, what are you doing? He goes, I'm making you faster. Shut up.
What a great friend. Love it.
So that made me faster because I was able to relax more. It made me faster. So it's great.
Please still tell me, how did it feel the first time you jumped on it and you grabbed the short handles and your fingers have nothing?
No, it was actually, I practiced it a lot that night.
Okay.
Because it's something new.
You're like, I'm in.
You
now.
never change things before the race, but you don't, right? But you can't jump,
Well,
Tiger Woods doesn't change his golf swing right before the U.S. Open. Or
You didn't have much of a choice, so he cut your handles off.
Yeah, which is good. I mean, that's a smart way to do it.
Well, sometimes you need kick from the nest.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes it's like, get out.
Yeah.
Loving push.
Yeah. But it made a difference. That made a difference.
How did it? Was it a big one?
Yeah, I was able to. I was 2/10 faster, which is huge. That's a lot of time in our. Let me tell you one more thing, right? It's amazing how the mind works. Okay, myself and anybody else in the luge circuit, we take a luge run, and without looking at the time, we can tell you within 1/10 of a second what our time was.
Wow,
it's in your head,
and we know where we blew it. And in the old days, and also we can tell you. You give me the list, we tell you the finish because it's consistent. It's consistent, like clockwork. So everybody's hopefully at their best. There'll be a couple of guys that messed up. There's never going to be somebody that makes a big jump. It's because success. Improvement is
crawl
gradual.
your way to the top.
Yeah.
Crash.
Right. Crash, crawl, everything, man. It's awful.
Inch. That's good. So you have a very counterintuitive or counter-mainstream story in that you started off extremely stubborn, which kept you from quitting. And over time, you learned to listen and trust and apply those lessons, and that really helped. And what's so cool about that is, I think the reason I say it's counter is I think the more quote-unquote arrived people get, the more successful they become, the more closed off they can. It's a danger. You can become to learning and new insights and stuff. And because you may or may not take your response with the handles for granted, right? That you chose to be like, what do you mean I'm holding it on wrong? And you wanted to see, and then you saw, and you're like, this is insane. And then you let them cut your handles, and then you tested it, and you're like, oh, thank goodness, right? You were willing to try this change after 30 years doing it. You were willing to go back to zero on something as basic as dribbling, and just how you hold on after 30 years, when most people would say you're an expert in this, you were willing to start over. And I think that there's such value in that.
Yeah. And what I've learned is what keeps people from opening up, right, and surrendering to the coach's advice is control. We want to be in control, right? Being in control feels safe, but you're tense. There's always this tension because this fight or flight going on in you, and you're not learning, right? When you're green, you're growing. When you're ripe, you're gonna rot, right? And so when you release that control and you just let go, it's scary. Boy, it's scary to let go. But when you do, it's like, oh man, and now it's easier. And we did a bunch of us went to Missouri 3 or 4 years ago for an Awana trip, right? And it was a caravan from Colorado Springs to Missouri. And I was never in the front. I was always in the back or in the middle. And I realized that after the first day of driving, I realized, man, I feel so fresh. I'm not even tired. It's because all I've been doing is following, right? I didn't have to think. They're doing all the thinking. They have to worry where we're going, speed limit, etc. And I'm just following. And so if you just follow, you got to find the coach, right? A coach that has fruit on the trees and a coach that you trust, right, as a person, right? Where there's that connection, you trust them. But if you got that, let go, and you'll be amazed.
Do you know what's really...
I got better gas mileage, too, because I was drafting.
Yeah, there you go. I just saw a connection from earlier in the conversation that I think is really cool. So the first point, when you went to that speaker who had 12 years experience and he made you earn the talking, right, like to work with him, we were talking about how good it was that he set the barrier to entry for how he stewards and manages his own resources, right? But the same's true. It's a two-way street. You had to test and find. Part of your criteria for testing someone you would trust to learn from was that they had to be a practitioner, not just a theorist. They had to show it. You keep saying fruit on the trees. Success is evident now, not 10 years ago. It's now. And those are some of your things to say, okay, I'm willing to trust you. I'm willing to learn from you. I'm willing to listen to you, right? You didn't have some guy who's been doing luge for 1 year come and mock your grip. It was another coach who's this phenomenal coach whom you trust, who's helping you, who, because those barriers to entry from your perspective, he has your respect, you humbled yourself and changed the game.
Humble myself to their leadership. That's exactly what I did. Yeah. Another guy. So that was Jonathan, the guy that helped me out with, actually, Guntus with the handles. Jonathan told me, don't look at the walls. Jonathan Edwards, descendant of the original Jonathan Edwards.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He competed for the U.S. in Lillehammer, 4th place in the double. So he's got fruit on trees. But there was this other guy. In order to qualify for Vancouver, one of the races was going to be in Lillehammer, and I'd never raced there before. So I went about a month or a few weeks before the race to train, right, to learn the track. And coming out of 13 in Lillehammer, it's like an optical illusion, but it looks like you're going to hit the wall. I mean, it just looks bad. And I would always go, and that was enough to put me into a skid. I'd lose all this time. I'd correct it before 14. Oh, correct. Let me backtrack. You're going to have to reel me back in.
Okay.
Early days when we were learning how to luge, even through the first Olympics, I would say. We take the runs, and then in the evening, they're videotaping us, right? And so we watch, right? And we have to, so we can learn, right? Coaches looking for how to learn, how to get to the next level. And it might be a video of curve 13 to 14, and I made a mistake, or maybe I'm going in too late into 14. I need to be earlier, and but I made a correction, and I got back in the proper line, and I was able to enter properly, right? And he would always point out, Ruben, you made a correction. You made a correction. That's good. You have to be always ready to make corrections, right? To pivot. Pivot's the word these days, right? There's changes out there. Whoever adjusts first wins. You want to beat your competition? You got to be agile, right? And so correction. So I go to Lillehammer and I'm messing up coming out of 13. And coach says, Ruben, what's wrong? Your 13 is good. Your line out of 13 is really good. What are you doing? I said, man, it looks like I'm going to crash. Well, don't look at that. That's all he says, right? Because he doesn't have no clue how the mind works. He's just a technician, world champion coach. He is. I mean, there's very few coaches that know this. Yeah. But he's not a complete coach. He's a better athlete than a coach. Right?
Okay, all right.
It's kind of like when you got a sales team and the sales manager quits or gets fired, and they promote the best salesman who probably doesn't know You know why they're best salesmen, right?
Doesn't mean they're necessarily a manager even.
He's not a good leader.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, right?
Right.
He just got promoted. So
God, what a fallacy. That's so pervasive.
Right.
it is. It is. I mean, it happened to me when I sold copiers and stunk. But well, just don't do it, Ruben. Don't. It's okay. And then he showed me on the videos that my lines were great coming out of 13, but that didn't help the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I come back home. I was going to have a few days for about a week and a half before I had to fly back to. And I've got a friend in Houston where I lived at the time. He was a top boxer for the U.S. Golden Gloves champ, and he almost made the one fight away from making the 1984 L.A. Olympics in welterweight. I mean, but more importantly, he knows NLP, hypnosis. He knows he can get in my head. Both of these guys, this is Don Akers. And so I call him up. I says, "Hey Don, this is what's going on." Piece of cake. Bring your sled over to my house. We'll figure that out. So we put the sled in his living room. I lay down. He goes, "Okay, take a mind run from the top." And I'm going to ask you the same thing a bunch of different ways. Bear with me because I don't know what's going to elicit the answer from your mind. Right. So just bear with me. Basically, he's asking me, "What are you thinking? What's going on in your head? What are you feeling at that point?" Okay, now do some runs let's just do them from curve 10, okay? Let's not waste the top. And he keeps asking me, as I come out of 13, what are you thinking? And I said, "Here it comes." Yeah, here it comes. Here it comes? Are you crazy? You're being totally reactive, man. I mean, you got to be proactive. Your new mantra is, "Here I come." You're going to stick it to the track, not the other way around, all right? Here I come. And so, here I come, man. I had it everywhere on my bookmarks. I still have bookmarks. I mean, it's almost 10 years ago. I still have bookmarks with "Here I come." I put it in front of my steering wheel everywhere. Here I come, here I come, here I come. And I go back to Littlehammer, piece of cake. Here I come. On my sled and the cowling, right in the front, it says, it says, "Here I come, smile, have fun." That's my last
There you go.
mindset before I'm going to perform. Because when you're performing, you're not you can't be thinking, especially at that speed. You just have to trust that your training will let you do what you need to do. And the more you do that, the better chance of getting in the zone, right? So my switch, because you have to come up with a switch to go from conscious to subconscious. That's it. Smile, have fun. Here I come. And
Boom.
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 Wow. From anxiety to excitement.
Yeah. And from
Here
focus.
I come
and
to focus. Yeah. Here I come.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love the switch part of that too. Like mental switches, they're so helpful, but you keep touching the torch. And I've never seen one in person. I've only seen like the far videos of them. I was hoping maybe because we do have this on video also, you could kind of walk through what you shared with us at the beginning on the different colors and kind of some of the fun there. And why in the heck were you giving it?
I know, man. There's a God. But the switch reminded me of something. Yeah. Your attitude and how you have to be. Okay, we're sitting right here. We're in, having a blast, but we're working, right? We're trying to get a good product out for the listeners, right? Yeah. So that's the mindset. When we cross that threshold, we got kids and family. Mm-hmm. So you got to make a switch mentally. Let yourself know. As soon as I walk there, now I'm dad, right? You walk down at the bottom, maybe just your wife's there. Now I'm husband, right? It's a different
We've had this conversation.
Right? And that's a switch that you do all the time, all day long. Yeah. Especially if you're homeschooling, and you got your office at home. And you guys homeschool?
We have been this right now. We're not.
Okay.
But I know what you're saying because it's like I'm professional, I'm husband, I'm father, I'm teacher.
Not just I'm Ruben.
It has to be intentional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It has to be an intentional switch.
Yeah, that's it.
Or it'll rule you.
Yeah. And
what job am I doing?
What's my job right now? What's my job right now? What's my hat? What? Right? And I learned this from Edison. Edison used to work in 90-minute chunks. Okay, 90 minutes of one thing. And I've been to the old place that burned down. I've been to his museums. I mean, I'm an Edison guy. And so he had a little pond, like not even a quarter mile behind his laboratory. And he would work on something for 90 minutes, just one thing, and he'd go out in the pond, and that's where he kind of, where the juices really start flowing, right? He liked to fish. He'd bring, he might bring Tesla over, and they'd fish or something and talk, and then he'd go back another 90-minute chunk. And so when I learned that, I told my kids. I told Grayson. Grayson was like, he's 16 now. He's probably 6 at the time. I told him, look, or less. I told him, look, you give me 90 minutes, 0 interruptions, okay? Because every time that door opens, then it takes me 15 minutes to ramp up again. And we just blew 15 minutes for 1 second open, okay? 90 minutes, no interruptions. You got me for 30. We can play a game. We can play ball outside. We can do whatever you want. You're the boss for 30 minutes. And then I get another 90. And if I can get 4 of those 90-minute chunks in one day, that's a really good day because it's focused on one thing, right? Not on emails. And Edison didn't even check his emails. It's amazing. I was blown away when I read that. So, torch. You want me to show him the torch?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for that extra story too. I do like that. That's fun.
So,
hold this. Can you hold this up a little bit because we're
is this good there?
Yeah, I can see it now
completely.
Yep.
All right. So this is the Olympic torch from the Salt Lake City Olympics. It's an icicle. See, and this slick part represents the modern Olympics, and this pewter-looking part is the ancient Olympics. We're supposed to hold it there. You're bridging the spirit of all the athletes and whatever, right? And then up here, I'm turning it around. It says, it says, trust me, light the fire within, right? That's the motto of the Salt Lake City Olympics, and so they light the flame in Olympia, Greece, and it's a whole ceremony that they do. And then they flew it to, since it was going to be in Salt Lake City, they try to fly it to the last city in that country that had the Olympics where the flame was. Okay. So it was Atlanta, right? And from there, I think it was 10,500 people were going to get to run it, quarter mile each, all over the United States. And that's just a way to get everybody pumped up, right? And only 200 athletes are going to get to run with it because they're trying to get people from, we're already pumped up. We got to pump everybody else up. Yeah. and so they call me up. The Olympics are in February. They called me up in December, and they said, actually, I must have been a little bit before that, but they said, you've been selected to carry the Olympic torch. I said, what? He goes, yeah, you're selected, I said, why? I'm not even close to being a medalist. How'd you pick me, right? And this is because your story is so inspiring. It fits our motto, right? We love your story. That's why. So I said, when is it coming through Houston? And she said, December 5th. I said, December 5th? Man, I can't do it. I've got a World Cup race in Innsbruck. Still trying to qualify for the Olympics, right? I can't do it. But I'll be back in January. Man, I'll go anywhere in January. I'll go to Alaska. I'll walk to Alaska, right? So let me carry the torch. See, and there's a lesson there, right? If you want something, don't be cool. Just let it out, right?
Yeah.
Because if I hadn't done it like that, I didn't do it on purpose. I was just me being me. But she went and said, okay, hang on, let me check. She went and checked and came back. She goes, Kansas City, January 9th. Can you do it then? And I said, done, right? So that door wasn't closed. And I did 2 things. Okay, I'm big on visualization. Luge, we do lots of visualization. And by the way, visualization, it's not so much about seeing it. It's if you can capture the feel, what's it going to feel like? That's even more important. Okay, if you and guys, I mean, I'll give a guy example. When you're a little kid, and you got the basketball hoop, and you're doing the okay, there's 2 seconds to go, and he shoots, he scores. That's visualization, right? You capture the feel of how you're gonna feel when you score that. That's visualization, okay? And so as soon as I hung up, I printed up a picture of the Kansas City skyline, right? Because that's where I was gonna be. I went to the bathroom. I grabbed the plunger. And I'm running through the house. Oh, it's going to be great, man. All the people are going to be great. Yeah, okay, got it. I can do this. Right? We're so programmed to visualize everything. I go across the street to my friend Tom's house. And Tom, he's like a cheerleader guy. You got to have a Tom, all right? You got to find somebody that encourages you. And no matter how crazy your ideas are, it's, baby, I love you. You can do it, You need that guy. And so and sometimes I'd be mowing my lawn. I mean, seriously, I'm mowing my lawn in Houston. And he had this big conversion van. And he'd pull up in front of me. And if he's going somewhere, he rolls down the window. He goes, Ruben, I believe in you. You will be a 3-time Olympian. This is back then, right? And peels out, and then there's smoke everywhere. I'm like, woo, baby, I mow that lawn in 5 minutes, right? Sometimes I go mow his lawn too, right? Maybe that's why I did it. I don't know. But I go across the town to share the news. I go, man, I'm carrying the torch. And he points to the van because he knew I was broke. And he goes, I'm taking you, buddy. Road trip. And he drove me all the way, 12 hours each way. Wouldn't let me drive.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he wanted me to, my arm to get tired. He wouldn't let me drive. but I got to carry the torch, and that's the torch. I mean, I pinch myself.
So here's a question. I'm going to try and over milk what I can get out of this question. Okay. So 40 years, you're going for your fifth set, right? Fifth time Olympian. So you've been doing this for a minute, which is why I bring this up again. If you were to go back to you're driving out to do your first run ever, right? And just think about your younger version of yourself. You could go back to 20-year-old Ruben, and you could only share 3 pieces of information, right? That's where I said milk, and I'm going to try and get 3 out of you.
You're killing me. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. What would they be? What would your 3 things be?
Got to follow that coach, right? You got to follow. You got to let go. I mean, that's the latest one that's made the biggest difference. You got to find the coach, find the right coach, one that you trust. Let go and outwork the competition. Don't be trying to be cool, and don't quit. Just keep coming back. And keep painting that picture in your mind so you're pumped up, right? So at the Olympic Training Center, the coaches are always painting the picture of how great it's going to be, how great it's going to feel when you're walking in the opening ceremonies, and that just keeps us in the game longer, right? And keeps us excited. And they're also teaching us, but they're you have to have, and they're reminding us that they believe in us, right? If you have a world champion coach telling you he believes in you, man, I may not believe in myself. I'll ride on his beliefs till mine kicks in. So surround yourself with those people.